suffering has a purpose. The pain that you're going through right now isn't just for no reason. Because pain is a package of growth. In order for a muscle to grow, it has to undergo strain, stress, pain, and tens of or hundreds or even thousands of micro tears in order for it to be rebuilt, to be bigger, stronger, and more capable to handle bigger load, more weight. Now, self-growth and spiritual growth is the exact same thing, man. Sometimes we have to be torn down hundreds, thousands of times in order for us to be rebuilt bigger, stronger, wiser, and more capable to handle larger responsibilities. Your suffering is there to serve you. Because if you look back at adverse moments in your life, whether it's failure, setback, mistakes, embarrassment, losses, then you may be able to see a common reoccurring theme that adversity is a prerequisite to growth. I know for me, every time I look back at adverse moments, every time I look back at situations where I couldn't see a way out, every time I look back at pain, trauma, it's just suffering, I always see that there was some sort of benefit. I always see that I grew from it or I evolved from it in a way that serves me now. I have certain skills and certain traits and a certain way of looking at life based on the suffering and pain that I've endured. So for you, it might be the same thing. Where you look back at your life, you look back at things that have happened to you, and you almost have a sense of gratitude for it. And once you get to that point where you start to see that common reoccurring theme of growth coming after adversity, it helps actually navigating and enduring adversity or navigating and enduring that suffering, because you develop this confidence and this inner knowing that whatever situation you're in is only temporary. Because confidence is proof. Confidence comes as the result of seeing a common reoccurring pattern or seeing a certain type of event happen again and again and again. So if you can look back at your life and see that every time you went through suffering, you grew as a result, then it gives you confidence within the suffering that you're enduring now. And the ironic thing as well is that once you develop this almost negative gratitude, or this gratitude that's rooted in a deep understanding of what adversity is and what suffering is and how it serves you, it almost speeds up how quickly you get out of that suffering or how quickly you get out of that adversity. Because think about it, usually we're grateful for things after they've happened, and we look back at it and we're like, you know what, we're grateful for that. So whilst you're in suffering, whilst you're in pain, by you being in a state of gratitude for it, because you know that you're going to grow as a result of it, you're almost saying to the universe, like, you're almost speeding it up. You're almost speeding it up because you're temporarily putting yourself at the end of that suffering by being grateful for it. Because gratitude usually comes after an event. So by you having gratitude during the event, you're technically saying to the universe that the event's already happened. So I don't know what they call it now, but it's like you almost quantum leap to the end of suffering by being grateful whilst you're in it. And the only way you can be grateful for suffering is by truly understanding the purpose that it serves. So that's why I started off this video saying that suffering has a purpose, and suffering is sometimes for you. Now, don't get me wrong, there's times where there's just unnecessary suffering, or there's some type of suffering that's like you almost can't even see how it's benefited you or how it's, impacted your life positively. But I don't know, man. I feel like with everything in life, you can always find some sort of positive seed within it. Because what nobody really talks about is how suffering, how adversity, how failure acts as information. Suffering is information because whatever repeated patterns or repeated negativity or repeated L's that you keep on taking, whatever repeated cycles are being shown to you is an insight into your subconscious mind. Because the subconscious mind is in control of your habits, it's in control of the automatic things that we do in life, it's in control of the cycles and patterns. The subconscious mind literally controls 95% of your actions, thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. So if you find yourself continuously being in a financial struggle, continuously finding yourself warring with your own mind, then that's literally an insight into your subconscious mind. It's an insight into your beliefs. It's an insight into potential mental associations that you have. So for me, for example, for a long period of my life, basically my entire life, I've had financial struggles. I've suffered financially. And it's to do with childhood. A lot of people operate off autopilot or just go through life not realizing that the things that they experienced in childhood are literally governing how they move now. Because during childhood, especially between the ages of 2 to 7, as science says, the subconscious mind is, we're in a theta brainwave state, which is when the subconscious mind is most open, most susceptible to the environment and things it's told. So during those early years, for me, for example, I grew up in poverty. I mean, the first house I ever stayed in until I was 5 was a studio flat where me and my parents shared a bunk bed for real. And then for the next 10 years after that, till I was 15, I shared a bed with my dad whilst my mum slept on the sofa. So I come from the ghetto, the ends, council flats, council estates, grew up in poverty, but it's funny because the only things I remember back then were, even though our living circumstances weren't the best, somehow we still had the freshest clothes, the nicest clothes. I remember my pops has always had a nice car, even though we were in a one-bed council flat. So even though technically I wasn't, I was taught about saving money, you should save your money, whatever you work for and earn, you should save your money. But as children, we often learn through observation more than what we're actually told at times. So by essentially the mental association that I developed from young was that even when you're in a financial struggle, to prioritize material things, having nice things. So as I grew up and I started making more money, I found myself, whenever I make a lot of money in a short amount of time, just buying material things. And it kept putting me in a cycle where I'd make money, buy a lot of material things, and then end up back in a financial struggle. And I kept repeating the cycle, not wondering why, not knowing why. And it's because during childhood, this is what I observed. This is the mental association that I formed with money being something to just spend. And Also, another thing as well that contributed to me having financial struggles and financially suffering in life is by observing my own parents' struggles, by observing my mum and hearing certain conversations about money that made me feel like a burden at a young age. I remember my mum giving me money, and instead of being grateful or instead of feeling excited, I felt almost shame. I felt guilt. I felt like a burden, as I said before, because at the time I was like 11 years old. My little brother was just born, still living in this one bed council flat. My mum's still sleeping on the sofa even while she was pregnant, so she couldn't work. And there was many times I heard her on the phone speaking specific numbers, and it low-key broke me like, damn, this 10 or 20 pound that my mum's giving me for lunch money is damn nearly everything she has for her. So ever since that moment, it's the mental association that I formed with money subconsciously was pain, was guilt. And what we tend to do as humans is whatever subconscious associations we have, whatever pain that we have, whatever mental associations we formed with pain, we subconsciously do our best to avoid it. So what happened throughout my life after that is every time I'd make money, I would end up spending it, or it would just end up disappearing somehow. Even when I was working 2 jobs at 13, even when I was doing other things, making money online, it just always seemed like money was just disappearing from me. And I always found myself in this financial struggle because I had this subconscious association with money to pain. So I found myself unconsciously trying to get rid of money in order to get rid of that pain. So that manifested as me just buying stupid stuff and just impulse buying and not investing and just making poor financial decisions because subconsciously that mental association to pain was formed from when I was younger. So that's just an example of how suffering is often tied to experiences that you've had in the past, whether it be childhood, whether it be adulthood, usually as traumatic events or highly emotional events that form these mental associations to money, to success, to failure, to relationships that literally govern how they turn out in your adult life. So the way that I eventually stopped this financial suffering was first being aware of where the root of it was. That's why suffering has a purpose, because without that suffering, without continuously being in financial struggle, I wouldn't have looked back and done the introspection to see, okay, where's the root of this problem? What's happened in my life that's making me continuously make these poor decisions? So in that case, suffering served me because then I looked back and I saw that I formed this mental association with money to pain, and as a result was subconsciously avoiding pain by avoiding money, by giving away money, by spending money recklessly and impulsively. And then awareness, as I always like to say, is like 80% of the work. So once you become aware of whatever flaw, pattern, weakness, or habit that you have, it technically no longer can control you because you're aware of it. Now it's up to you and you have a choice whether you change it. So I decided to change that. What did I do? I went back to specific core memories, specific emotionally intense negative experiences that I had with money. And not only experiences, observations as well. So those phone calls that my mum had, or it might be for you arguments that your parents may have had about money. Specific core memories, the type of memories where even me explaining this now, certain memories are coming to you right away. Those memories that come to you first and foremost, those are your core memories. And in those core memories, mental associations were formed. So what you want to do is you want to recreate that memory, recreate whatever that event is. So for me, I literally created a scene in my mind where my mum was just counting bare money and she just threw me like two £50 notes, two pinkies as we call it in the UK or London. I don't even know if they exist anymore, but she gave me money, and instead of feeling guilt, shame, and like a burden, I felt grateful, I felt excited. And I kept looping that scene again and again and again during my morning visualization. And after doing that for literally, I felt a shift within a week, honestly. But after about 2 weeks, 3 weeks of doing that every single morning, I no longer had the subconscious mental association with money being pain. I never had that bridge. That bridge was no longer there. I disconnected it by using my subconscious mind and reprogramming that belief that money is pain, money is pain, and instead programming money is excitement, money is gratitude, money is love, money is happiness. And by doing that, I literally stopped repeating the same financial bad habits and poor decisions and started making more money than I ever made before in my life. Like I literally went from, low four figure amounts to having a breakout month, making over 10k a month, and then doing even more after that. But it all started from the suffering, from being in financial struggle so many times and getting to this point of despair where I'm like, fuck this, like I've had enough. And then doing introspection and seeing how your current suffering, how your current struggles, seeing if they relate or if they're rooted in a specific memory or a specific thing that happened to you in the past. And as soon as you make that connection and as soon as you see where the root of your suffering is, that's when it can no longer control you or no longer mess up your life for real. So suffering serves that purpose of giving you information about yourself, giving you insights into your subconscious mind, what mental associations, what core memories, what traumatic events are potentially negatively impacting my life right now. That's the purpose that suffering holds, is for you to do introspection and to look inside your darkness. Because the more enlightened we become, the more light shines on our darkness. In order for a tree to reach the heavens, its roots have to mess that one up. In order for a tree's branches to reach to the heavens, its roots must reach down into hell. That's a quote from Carl Jung. Suffering is just a natural part of this life. Just like how when you plant a seed, before it becomes a tree and before it becomes this magnificent thing in the outside world, it has to stay in the soil. It has to endure that darkness. It has to literally break through the soil and overcome the soil, overcome the ground itself in order to break through into the light. Adversity is a prerequisite of growth. The suffering that you're going through now is a prerequisite of growth. And one thing I would like to suggest, or something that can help you endure through whatever suffering, whatever pain that you're going through now, is developing a relationship or a connection with not only yourself, but with some sort of higher power. So for me, that's God. The only reason I was able to endure so much pain, so much trauma, so much suffering is because I had God with me there the whole time. In order to survive the storms of life, you have to find a bunker to retreat into. And for me, that bunker is God, man. Whenever I go through any type of mental detoxification, where old traumas, old patterns, old habits negativity is just resurfacing out of my subconscious mind whenever I'm going through adversity, whenever I'm going through failures, setbacks, whenever I'm going through storms in life. I retreat into my bunker, man. I retreat into God. And it's as simple as closing my eyes and just entering a mental conversation with God, just admitting what I'm going through, admitting how I'm feeling, and just confiding and seeking consolement in the infinite energy that created all, man. Another thing that can help you endure suffering and endure pain and endure just feeling down or feeling behind or just feeling like shit, man, is neutrality. Neutrality is the antidote to the waves of life. By maintaining neutrality and just seeing things as they are instead of how you want them to be, accepting the way things are. And that doesn't just mean like just leaving things to be or just leaving problems as they are. Like, nah. What I mean is accepting that you have a problem and just seeing it as it is. Like, it is what it is. But truly cultivating this neutrality, cultivating this almost confidence, this inner strength with whatever higher power you believe in, is how you can stay calm, how you can stay steady, how you can stay afloat during the waves of life. Because life is not meant to be all ups and hippie hurrah all the time, man. We live in a world governed by universal laws, and one of them is the law of rhythm, which states that there's a constant ebb and flow to life. The ups, the downs, the cycles, the seasons. You have autumn, winter, spring, summer. In business, you have a boom, downturn, recession, recovery. In our own bodies, we have the circadian rhythm. The sun goes up, it goes down. Throughout life, throughout everything in life, the law of rhythm is evident. The way that helps you endure suffering and the way that helps us endure suffering is because life is constantly this wave, this up and down motion. At the bottom, where the suffering is, we know that it's only temporary. If life is this constant oscillation of ups and downs, then we know that both the highs and the lows are just temporary. They're not permanent. And by knowing that, it helps enduring the suffering. And the way that neutrality helps endure the suffering too is during those ups and downs, by maintaining that level, that middle state. Not only do you not feel super elated and super happy at the highs, but you also don't feel depressed and completely broken at the lows by just maintaining this neutrality. So that's how you endure suffering. By not only shifting your perspective on it, and instead of being a victim and saying, oh, why me, and why is God allowing this? Because I know that's happened, man. I've done that myself as well. I've questioned God. I've asked God, like, why am I suffering? Why do I have to keep going through this? Why do I have to keep going through this pain? Like, sometimes even now, man, even recently, I know all this wisdom and all this information about perspective and on what adversity is and these universal laws of metaphysics and esoteric knowledge and all this shit. But sometimes knowledge and knowing isn't enough, and it doesn't stop you feeling like shit. So there's times where I know a lot, but I'm still going through things in life. I'm still suffering in a way, and I'm still asking God, like, why do I have to endure this? Why do I have to go through this? And if you find yourself questioning God or whatever, don't feel guilty about it or feel down about it. Like, it's a natural part of life. It's okay to feel down. It's okay to feel low. It's alright, man. Give yourself permission to feel. But it's also the trust, the confidence, the faith in God that restores your strength. As I said earlier, the only reason I was able to endure so much suffering in my life is because I had God alongside me though in every single situation. So many situations I didn't see a way out. I didn't know how I could get out of it. I didn't know nothing, man. But you know what? I just got to a point where I let go and let God. And God came through in every single adverse moment or every single time I've suffered. So now, whenever I go through suffering, even if I feel down about it in a moment, I can quickly get back into neutrality because I have this proof and this backlog of God coming and saving the day every single time. So this helps when I go into bigger challenges and helps when I encounter adversity in the future because of all the times I've seen God help me in the past. That's what true confidence is. Proof. And I have so much proof. I have so much proof that suffering is not eternal, it's not constant, it's only temporary. And for you as well, man, look at your life. See all the moments where you didn't see a way out, you couldn't see a way out, but you're still here. You still found a way out. And use that same evidence to help provide you with strength for whatever you're going through right now. It's interesting, man, because a lot of the times we go through suffering right before a breakthrough or right when a massive life transformation is about to happen. And this is where self-sabotage can often come in and start to undo all the work that we've been doing leading up to this potential transformation. But just like nature, man, nature is always the greatest teacher. So just like there's certain types of crabs where before they cast off their old shell, they literally crawl into a crevice where they lie undisturbed until the new shell grows and arrives. So in the exact same way, as you're going through whatever suffering you're going through in life, you need to find a way to retreat into your own crevice. Now, I understand, we all have, jobs or businesses to run, just life to live. So we may not have the luxury of being like monks and just completely isolating from the outside world, but you can still find moments of your day where it's just you, yourself, and God, or you, yourself, and whatever higher power you believe in. And in those moments where you're in the crevice, that's where you give yourself self-love. That's when you give yourself grace. That's when you have your conversations with God, where you have your conversations with yourself, and you just allow yourself to feel and process whatever negative emotions, whatever negative thoughts, whatever anxiety or worry that you feel. Because at the end of the day, man, anything external has an expiration, whereas everything internal is eternal. Whether it be vices, distractions, or even other people, nothing can truly heal you better than you healing yourself internally through God, through prayer, through meditation, through just sitting with your negative thoughts, your negative emotions, your traumas, going back to them, processing them. All of that inner work, that internal work is eternal and it stays with you forever. You don't have to get a quick fix of it again. You don't have to subscribe to a continuous thing now. Like, you just have to do it once or just develop it almost like a habit, but it stays with you forever, man. You don't have to rely on anything outside of you to regain that inner peace or to regain that inner sense of clarity whilst you're going through suffering. So yeah, man, it's really important whilst you're enduring whatever you're going through to maintain that relationship with God, man. Maintain that relationship with your higher power. Speak to it constantly throughout the day. Don't just leave it to the morning or to before you go to bed, like throughout the day, man. God, I'm feeling this, I'm thinking this. Even me sometimes now I say, you know what, God, I'm feeling like shit, but I'm grateful for this adversity because I always know what comes after it. And this helps me get back to a neutral state and helps me get out of whatever adverse situation I'm in at a much faster rate. Because as I said earlier in this video, gratitude conveys completion. Gratitude conveys an end. So by you being grateful in the suffering that you're in, you're signaling to the universe that you're out of that adversity, that you're out of the suffering. And as a result, the universe will conspire and help you find so many ways to get yourself out of that adversity. Opportunities will come out of nowhere. People will come out of nowhere. Circumstances will just be in your favor. I'm starting to lose my voice, but try and have some gratitude for whatever suffering you're in now, man. Just know that you're being broken down to be rebuilt into a stronger, better, wiser, bigger, better version of yourself than you are now. Whilst you're enduring whatever suffering that you're going through, it's essential that you develop self-love, self-compassion, self-soothing. And as a man, that might sound taboo or weak or feminine or just weak, but no, man. Self-love, self-compassion is your biggest strength, because in those lonely nights, in them early mornings, it's only you. And how you speak to yourself, how you treat yourself, the world reflects that back to you. So that same confidence, that same way that you speak life into yourself, the world will provide ways of reinforcing that to you. Because reality acts as a mirror at times, reflecting back to you what's happening on the inside. So whilst you're going through suffering, love yourself, man. Give yourself grace. Maintain your relationship with a higher power you believe in. And just do your best to stay neutral. See your suffering as something that's serving you. See it as a spiritual gym, a mental gym. You're being built. You're being forged. You're being created into a better version of yourself. So I hope this video helps you, man. Whatever suffering you're going through, just know that you're not alone. I've created a free self-love guide that you can find in the description below. Completely free. There's no hidden strings attached or anything. But I created it for these moments where we endure adversity, we endure suffering, or we just want to develop a better relationship with ourselves whilst we're going through life's challenges. So you can find that in the link below. And inside there you will actually find the visualization exercise that I actually used to disassociate pain and money and disconnect that bridge so that I could stop just giving away money as an unconscious association of pain. So you can find that also in the self-love guide. But apart from that, man, I hope you get through whatever you're going through, and just know that I'm rooting for you, man.